November 4th, 2025. Well, it's election day for this off here election. And we have a variety of things going on, of course. The two governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia, as well as a lot of lower tier candidates, of course, as well. And then you also have, of course, the New York mayor's race, which has got a lot of attention. So, and of course, we're still in the middle of the ongoing government shutdown with no clear end in sight. Um, so, I guess first, I think just looking at the polling and all, it looks like to me that probably Virginia is out of range for the governors. Winston Earl Sears is a good candidate, but I'm just, it looks like things are kind of slipping away. We'll see. I'm hopefully I'll be surprised. I actually did make a small contribution to that campaign, and against Spanberger, who at any rate, I think is kind of an ultra liberal, and we'll see what that has to do. And then they have their attorney general candidate, who's a real case, to say the least. Um, uh, Including apparently was a 130-mile-an-hour traffic ticket or something. This sounds like an interesting character, as well as wanting political opponents' families to die, and well, whatever. But at any rate, nonetheless, this guy's in the race and could even conceivably win. Oh, that one's pretty tight. I think there's a good chance the Republican can pull that one out. The I don't know about Earl Sears in that one. I hope for the best. I hate to think this is getting back into the old racial thing. But then the other thing you have to consider about it is Virginia, and there's a lot of government workers there that are not getting paid. They're out of work, and since they tend to lean Democrat, they're probably blaming the Republicans. So that doesn't help at all. And then it's also a predominantly Democrat-leaning state, although Glenn Young can show that under the right conditions, a Republican can win with the right campaign and the right circumstance. So we'll have to see how that one plays out, but that's coming up. And then New Jersey. New Jersey, it looks like that's a pretty tight governor's race. Um, Most polls still show a Democrat ahead by an inch, but there's also a lot of characteristic. There's apparently a pretty serious ground game for the Republicans to do vote harvesting, and apparently the Republicans are in the game there, and supposedly they have a higher motivational level, and they sort of surprised the Democrats in the last race there. So Cuccinelli had done pretty good previously, so we'll have to see. That one's a possible. I'm not conceding that at all. We'll see how that one plays out, of course. If you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, or you can also follow me on Rumble, of course, and at the address is Richmond below. So yeah, those are the two we're kind of looking at here. And the thing to consider also in all this is it looks like Trump's polling numbers have declined quite a bit since the last time I mentioned them in a video a couple of weeks ago. Even Rasmussen has him down 8 points now. So that's it's hard to know what's going on, whether it's just due to the shutdown or whether it's also due to maybe a lot of other things that are going on. Perhaps the idea he's been so focused on foreign policy while the shutdown's been going on has kind of allowed the Democrats to spin their stories, so to speak. But I think that'll probably rectify itself once the shutdown's over and we're back to business again. But anyway, so that's kind of the way I see that one. But that could also be playing into a lot of other things going on, as you could tell. Now, onto the New York mayor's race. Of course, that one, it looks like that's been tightening up a little bit, although Mondami is still ahead of Cuomo, and of course, the we still have Shiwa in there at around 15-16%, and he's determined to believe he can win. Sort of like, I guess that's his fantasy or whatever. Of course, my ongoing frustration with the New York race is the fact that since it is a ranked choice situation, why is nobody talking about that? That if you can go ahead and vote for whoever you want, Shiwa, if you want, but vote for Cuomo as the number two choice. And then I would say Cuomo's people probably shouldn't vote for anybody as a number two choice. And then, of course, Mondami, well, they'll do what they'll do. They may very well not vote for anybody else as a number two choice, you know. But and then, of course, there's a few fringe candidates whose names I don't even know, which will probably factor out rather quickly. And I guess who they vote for as their alternate choices may be also pretty significant. If there's a few of them and they pick Cuomo or Mondami as their choice. So, but the fact that nobody seems to be addressing this issue, at least maybe they are locally, but on national TV that I see, they're just looking like it's an ordinary race where you vote for one candidate and that's that, and that's all that's involved. And that's kind of not the way to play this one, I think, given everything going on. But anyhow, it looks like we may well end up with our socialist Muslim mayor who goes and campaigns at gay bars. Seems like a mishmash. And of course, there is another way of looking at this. It's hard to know, if a lot of people think that if in fact he wins, Mondami that is, that it'll be a kind of a disaster, that it'll be worse than any of the mayors we've seen there, and they've been pretty bad, at least since Giuliani, and and so as they've gotten progressively worse and been more and more trying to restrict the police and so forth, the crime situation spun out of control. And this guy is a real disaster waiting to happen. And furthermore, he's got a program, obviously, that probably can't be effectively implemented. We don't know how much the city council will go on with his more extreme viewpoints, maybe initially for a while, but once things go financially tilt, maybe they will rebel against him and he'll end up being a disaster, which might help the Republicans maybe win the governor's race there. I mean, Stefanik, I know, really wants it, and she's very ambitious, as we well can tell. I mean, the fact that she wasn't even happy with being the third person in line in the House and was trying to get to be the UN ambassador, which was only nixed because the Democrats had pretty much said, well, we're not going to have a special election if you resign until it's too late. So that kind of, with the tight majority we have in the House, that kind of fixed that one. So I want to see how this all plays out. And of course, by the time this video run kind of ends, we'll know the outcomes within and see how we're going. With ranked choice voting, if it's close, the New York thing might play out for a few days. So we'll see on that one. If it's a clear win by Mondami, then that'll be pretty much decided very quickly, though. And now we also have the proposition out in, was it 50? Well, it's the proposition out in California. It looks like all Republicans need to go out and vote on that and vote no on it. But more than likely, it looks like it'll pass handily because the Democrats are all behind it. And of course, that'll have a very gerrymandered state, apparently. The assumption is that 5 seats will go to the Democrats that otherwise would go Republican. And of course, that will really, if the Republicans were to retain control of the House, that would actually weaken the state's play in the government. But if it goes Democrat, then, well, in that case, we'll be in for a whole fun series of things, right? I mean, if the House goes Democrat, you can just guarantee the whole objective is going to be primarily to sabotage Trump and to impeach him. And so, of course, he won't be removed from office, but they can spend a lot of time creating a lot of noise. So that's kind of that. I do tend to think the Republicans have done a similar thing in Texas, which ends up the two may negate each other. And I guess depending on how Virginia turns out, there might be a similar thing occur there. However, it's also possible that because of specific laws there, that court challenges may undermine what the Democrats want to do, at least for the next election. Although it wouldn't apply to 2028, of course. But there's a lot of things that could happen on that subject, and that's kind of where we're looking at here. My own opinion is maybe the Republicans jumped off a little too quick on this redistricting thing, but apparently nationwide, I guess the Republicans could still come out with more districts than they lose. My only thought is that in reality, does anybody really think it's going to be that close of a battle for the House next time? Since it's almost parity right now, almost very slim Republican advantage. Um, I would seem to me that the party in power usually loses these off elections like that and midterm elections, and unless something spectacularly happens against the Democrats, which so far hasn't been seen, we'll see what happens. We could hope it happens. They deserve it, but that this whole blackmail the administration thing, as usual, doesn't seem to be hurting them as much as you'd think it would. Of course, we don't know what their popularity is down to either. And I think a lot of times these polling questions are kind of written in ways that don't really reflect the real situation. The question is, what degree does the public really understand the real situation? And that may be the disadvantage of Republicans is also. I mean, I always had thought that, one cynical thing, what the Republicans could have done would be to agree to what the Democrats want. And then when the whole budget's finally finished for the year, then do a surprise reconciliation vote and just repeal all or most of what they put in. But I don't. But then again, the question is, will you have a few Republicans that refuse to do that and end up basically the Democrats winning then? Because they seem to be holding together a little bit better than the Republicans are. There is some hope that after this election's over, depending on how it goes particularly, I would suppose if the Republicans were to pull out surprise victories in the governor's races, then maybe the Democrats would back down and end the shutdown. But if the Democrats if the Democrats were to actually win the two, though, that'd be kind of what you'd expect anyhow, right? I mean, normally. I think even even if the Republicans win New Jersey, that would be a big negative for the Democrats. Because right now, going into Virginia, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Hope it does, but doesn't look that way. So anyway, that's kind of the way I see the whole election here at the moment. Whether it's been played the correct way or not, I don't know. Um, it seems like the Democrats are really good at fooling people. We'll see if they really are or not tomorrow, I guess. So anyway, I'll be wrap this up for now and post it as always on YouTube and Rumble, and the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. So all for this time.